Hey guys, Insomnia here with some more AFK Arena. Today we're going to be looking at one of the things that I get the most questions about, which are team comps, kind of a couple different variations we're going to go over. I'm actually going to show you 5 of my team comps that I use on a regular basis. So let's go ahead and get into the video. So I do use the formations tab. This is something that was recently added. As you see here, I have a bunch of teams in here, a bunch of Greyborn Tower, Mauler Tower, Light Tower, Wilder Tower. But the main one that I use is this Lightbearer combination, super strong. So when you look at the team comp, it's Falks, which is my CC, Lucius, which is my healing and tank, Belinda, which is my primary DPS, Rowan, which is my support, and then Rozlyn, which is again, she does quite a bit of DPS, does some stuns. So let's go ahead and take a look at their abilities, and then we'll get into some of the other teams. So for the first team, Lucius is always the core. You know, he's super strong. He does the AoE shield with his Heaven's Protection. Does a huge shield on the whole entire team, keeping them alive while everyone is CC'd, as well as his healing. So that's the other big part, is he does have the heal. He does have the Blessed Shield, so he does a lot less damage and a lot less physical damage because he has physical resist. So moving him either in position 1 or 2 in the front line makes a difference on the team comp that you're fighting. Falks has always been my favorite hero. His purification ability with his signature item raises defense of the entire team, but the big one everyone looks for is the Confine ability. Confine actually puts them into a coffin, so takes them out of... Wait, yeah, that's the right one. Yep, locks them in a coffin. I thought for a minute there was a coffin, but yep, Confine. So when they're in the coffin, so when you actually start the battle, he'll use Confine. So it'll be actually rate 5 on 4 at the beginning of the battle, because he will take the highest attack rating character right out of the board, which is awesome. And if you're surviving a little bit through the match, he'll actually use it more than once. So he'll actually use the ability to lock somebody down a majority of the battle. My favorite new hero, Rowan. Rowan and his cart brings back energy as he uses his ultimate ability, but healthy supplies is the big thing. He sets up a cart that has 3 health potions on there with a signature item and has an energy potion as well. And this is situational, and this is where it kind of differs from Namora, because Namora heals over time, heals with her attacks, and then heals through some of her abilities, where he is situational. So if Lucius or Falks takes a big burst damage hit from Isabela or Athalia, they'll actually heal right there instead of waiting for the heal to go off. What I found with Namora is a lot of times my heroes were dead by the time they went off. So Avid Assault, which helps a little bit, especially if they target him. When you look at some of the abilities like Sylvana, she actually always targets him. And then his damage control. So he uses his energy when he takes a lot of damage. So if there's a burst character, I actually put them opposed. So I'll put the burst character like Athalia will hit him. And if you see the first time, it takes his energy, so it actually doesn't damage him. Rozlyn is another new one. So her ability, which the big thing is motivation. So she raises the attack rating, and she will give her energy to Belinda, which is what you want to do because Belinda does massive AoE damage. Teacups I like too, because that will bring back Belinda's health as she needs it. This is her ability. Can't really see it there, but crazy. I think it's culinary cutlery, because this has a stun. So whoever they're targeting is actually going to be stunned with this, and it does quite a bit of damage if you've seen it. And then spring cleaning, so she can't be attacked when she's using her broom. If the ally that she's following is a backline hero, then it incorporates a knockback. So if they actually get back to Belinda, she'll actually do the sweeping ability with spring cleaning and knock them back. The final one, of course, is Belinda. Super Divine Light, does tons of damage, and the faster that she can cast it, because it hits a large area of enemies 4 times, and even level 3 hits 5 times, and damage increases for every successful hit that it lands. So if she's casting it over and over, does a ton of damage. Brilliance makes her way stronger. So as you can see there, raises her own crit rating by 12%, level 3 is 18%, and every time Belinda inflicts a critical strike on an enemy, she causes the subsequent damage they receive to be increased by 3%. So it can stack up to 8 times. So if you look at that, another 24% damage there. Blessing is nice too because she will actually bless the ally with the highest attack rating, raising their attack rating and crit even higher. As you see there, level 3, 20%, and level 2, she blesses 2 allies. So super huge buffer when it comes to damage. And her Divine Retribution as well reduces the accuracy and does a ton of damage. And the surrounding enemies, so AoE. So very, very solid team. This is what I've actually pushed through most of Chapter 24 with, is this build. Having Rozlyn on Belinda. So a couple other formations I love to use. This is kind of a variation of an old formation, but if you look here, this is very reliant on the summons, the adds. So Grezzold gets him off every 9 seconds, 2 with his ultimate. Baden summons them as soon as he goes into combat. And then Namora and Tassie are just there for support. And the big thing with this is Leica brings Frailty. What Frailty does is reduces the defense of the enemies she's fighting. So as these little minions keep stacking and stacking and stacking, she's reducing the defense of the enemy so they're actually able to die faster. And then coupled with this, similar to Lucius's shield, you have Namora on the top. When she uses her ultimate ability, she actually heals all of the summoned adds that are left, and any overhealing will actually shield them. So it's kind of interesting to see when they're all shielded. So let's take a quick look at those heroes, and we'll just go through them once. We're not going to go through them again. Baden I do love. Phantom Assault, which is awesome. Summons Phantoms, summons 2 Phantoms, which possess 85% of his own health and attack rating. So when he's super strong, they get a big, big buff. Phantom Strike, which is the ability that does a lot of damage. Spectral Surge, this is where he gets a lot of his damage and his mitigation to really tank. Baden's attack rating is increased 3% for every Phantom on the battlefield. Baden is also able to mitigate 20% damage for every Phantom on the field. Unfortunately, it caps at 4 Phantoms now. This used to not cap at all, but so you can mitigate up to 80% of his damage as long as your Phantoms are staying alive. Spectral Onslaught, that's the actual damage, and the Spectral Strike is a little Phantom. So if you've ever used Baden, he has 2 larger Phantoms, which are his ultimate ability, and Phantom Strike is smaller Phantoms that kind of show up around the battlefield. And the good thing with this is when you're fighting an enemy, the enemy will actually go straight to the little Phantoms or the larger Phantoms, just like Grezzold's adds, and attack them before they attack your heroes. So as long as you're doing damage and got a little bit of time. Same with Grezzold. He uses Reanimate ability, which brings up his skeletons. His ultimate ability, or his signature item, summons 1 skeletal warrior every 9 seconds. So not only are you getting them from his ultimate ability, which summons 2, you're getting 1 here. And then coupling that with either Lucius's shield or Namora's ability to heal makes a big difference. His Shadow Shield, which is good, mitigates damage, and then when the shield goes off, it does damage, and then Deathly Protection. So he actually is, I think, the only character that reduces magic damage from allies, which is good. So if you're fighting a team where it's 4 or 5 casters, mitigating the magic damage with Grezzold will be huge. Some of the Wilders I don't use that often, so Namora is really big on her Wild Wonder. That's the one that'll heal everybody, increases the defense rating, and she heals the minions. That's the big part of this team. Mother's Nature increases the healing efficiency of herself and all teammates. So Grezzold as a heal when his minions die with his signature item, and then Overflow, they'll make a maximum health is converted into a protective shield. So if you have minions that just came up and they get healed, you'll actually see them all shield themselves, which is pretty interesting. Beguile is a good control, good CC, especially when you're fighting a strong team. And then Life Force gradually heals the weakest teammate. So she is still the only pure healer. So she has 1 CC ability, 3 healing abilities, which brings me to Tassie. Tassie has her Slumber, which is awesome. I mean, it's so powerful when she puts everybody to sleep for 5 seconds. Her little Dream Sprite kind of runs around. If it hits an enemy, it does damage. If it's on a hero of yours, it actually increases their, or it heals you and it gives you haste. So it's pretty cool. Banishment is another big thing. So she's really big on the CC aspect of it. So Banishment will actually take an enemy out of the battle for a little bit and then teleport. She just actually runs her all around the battlefield. If she gets hit, sometimes she'll teleport, sometimes she doesn't. So overall, she is CC with a little bit of heals. And Leica on this team is really solid because she does not only a lot of damage. Big thing with Leica, her ultimate ability is the foe's fragility. So if you look, a passive ability that allows Leica's attacks to lower her target defense rating by 3%, which if you look, level 4 does by 4% and stacks up to 10 times. When it hits 10 times, enemies are stunned. So this is where it couples very nicely with the minions. So when you got a bunch of minions running around and a bunch of the enemy team that are attacking these minions, she is reducing the defense to allow them to do more damage, and Grezel and Baden to do more damage as well. And when you look at Nemora's heal, it is based on her attack, or based on her damage. So kind of all goes right hand in hand. And this is the other ability that you really want to focus on, why she's so strong on the team. At the beginning of battle, she gallops into the battlefield, inspiring her allies. Energy restored increased by up to 100%. So she increases their attack speed and energy, which is, this team's very reliant on energy because of the ultimate abilities, which make the adds, and Nemora healing the adds to keep them up. Rapid Arrow, just a DPS, kind of a little bit of a self-heal. So that's formation number 2. Formation 3 is a little bit different, still includes Leica, so we won't go over her, but this incorporates the Maulers. And what this team does is Iran right in the back center will pull the 3 opposing characters right over to your side. He does a sweeping attack, which does a ton of damage, tornado that does a ton of damage, with Brutus that does a ton of damage, a ton of burst damage, and whirlwind if they're still there, as well as chaos with his throwing axe ability hits them as well, like is debuffing them. And the big thing with Sophia in the top is she does a ton of AoE damage, but she also does her ability, which is here. If I can get on Sophia. The big one for her is Spectral Disruption. At the beginning of the battle, she casts a circle of enchantment on the ground that lasts for 25 seconds. All allies standing in the circle have their attack rating increased by 24%. The enemies standing in the circle have their attack ratings reduced by 40%, as well as haste. When Iran pulls the heroes over, he pulls them straight into the Spectral Disruption. So they'll be in there when he's attacking them, when Brutus is attacking them, when Chaos is attacking them. They're all standing right inside of this Spectral Disruption. So it only lasts 25 seconds, so you got to make the most of it. And all the heroes inside of there, all of your heroes have their damage increased by 24%, which is your entire team at that point. Static Field does a little bit of damage. Scatterbolt does quite a bit of damage. And then Falling Sun does a ton of damage, but it just takes a while to build up. So a couple other ones, big ones, is Chaos. Not only does he bring Throwing Axe, which does AoE damage, and he does a lot of ability right here, concentration. When you bring the heroes closer, right, when hits multiple enemies when they get too close to him, and his defense rating goes up. So when you stack all 3 of those enemies together, you're going to be doing a ton more damage on them because you can hit multiple enemies. He does bring healing as well, which increases life leech attributes of all allies by 15%, an additional 6 for your Mauler team, which you have 3 of 5 Maulers. And then the Throwing Axe ability to hit everybody that's in that little 3-person pocket. And of course, the King Brutus, his Whirlwind ability. This is another big one where he'll do a ton of damage to all 3 targets, but combine that with his Roar, physical damage received by enemies is increased by up to 50%. So Iran, Chaos, and Brutus together on 3 targets that are all stacked up are just going to absolutely destroy them. And then the final one is Iran himself. And this is his big ability, which is right here, Vortex. So generates a powerful gust of wind that draws an enemy standing within a certain range of himself, which it'll do the opposing 3 which deals 140 or 160%. He does this, the Twin Swords, which Ice Blades, so you actually get a little bit of a debuff on the enemies. It slows them for 4 seconds, and he attacks a single target, knocking them backwards. So with three targets combined, is you're going to be doing a lot more damage on them. Passive ability that increases attack rating, gives them attack to ignore enemies' defense, which is awesome. And then his final ability, which if the heroes are still there, or when he casts his Elemental Surge, he does a truckload of damage. It's a tornado that runs around the battlefield, but all 3 targets will be in front of him. So pretty much, as long as he can stay alive, it melts anything that comes into that little 3-person formation. So it's a pretty unique, pretty cool team. This is the old school team. This is way back when. This has always been kind of the go-to. That's why I wanted to share it. Brutus for damage, Chimera up tanking, her ultimate ability and her abilities heal her. Leica is there for the debuffs like we went over, and raising the attack rating, or the haste and the energy. You have Namora as your healer, Tassie's your CC, so this is kind of your common team. And all of my teams I wanted to stay with a minimum 3-set bonus. As you start getting a little bit further into endgame, you have to have the bonuses. I've noticed any team that I have without the bonuses, even if I swap it out to lose a bonus, I lose a ton of attack rating. Because even if I swap her out, depending on the gear, I'd lose quite a bit of attack rating. So all of that team we did go over. And then my final team, which is one of my favorite, straight burst DPS. So not only does Grezel have his ads, what we went over, we have Nara, we have Pharrell, we have Isabela, and we have Kelthar. So with this team comp that really works is Grezel bringing up his ads like we went over, is Nara is your burst DPS as well as your CC. So her ability here, if there's an enemy injured enough to be slain, she will impale them, which her impale ability actually just brings the target over the target opposite to her, brings them right over. She starts stunning them, start going to town on her damage with them. So as soon as her target is down, as soon as it dies, she'll actually grab another target and pull them right over. Butchery, she's one of the only heroes that can go through shield. If the enemy has a shield, it does way more damage, which is always nice. And if she kills them, she gets a shield too, and she has a stun. So this stun actually lasts for a couple seconds. And then Terrify, so anyone who attacks her loses energy, which is awesome. So now couple that with Pharrell, which his ability, I love his CC with this. So not only does he stun or Terrify up to 3 enemies, Nara will be controlling enemies with her ability, as he can stun the enemies, and then all of his abilities, well, most of his abilities deduct energy points. So not only anyone attacking Nara loses energy, anyone that Pharrell is hitting loses energy as well. And his ultimate ability does a ton of damage. Not only does it do damage, but they're haunted by an evil spirit, so it does a damage over time. And spirits' attack speeds are increased by 6%, so it does fast, powerful damage. Now, I've heard, I don't use Pharrell that much, but when it comes to straight DPS, he is one of the strongest DPSs in the game. And then Corrupted Spirit is his last one. Summons an evil spirit from a fallen hero's corpse that then haunts the enemy for 10 seconds. So if somebody dies, they actually get haunted, and then again does more damage, which is awesome. The rest of the team, Kelthar, I don't use very often. I don't think I've ever really used him. He's one that actually switches positions with the person, which is displacement. At the beginning of the battle, he swaps place with an enemy target, and any damage to that enemy receives will be increased by 35% for 7 seconds. So he comes to our side of the battlefield, and then they do a ton more damage on him for 10 seconds. Comes back to the battlefield. So once he dies, he actually comes back in the battlefield if you've ever fought him, which is that. Retaliation, completely dodges an incoming attack, jumps in front of the attacker, unleashing a counterattack that does a ton of damage, and it boosts his haste. And then his ultimate ability, he throws the shuriken around the battlefield. When he catches it, he starts attacking the enemy target, doing a ton of damage to them. So again, just like Nara, he is continuous damage. He is an assassin. And I believe Nara is the same. She is an assassin with burst damage. So very similar. And the last one is Isabela, which is, again, continuous damage, assassin. So this team is super, super burst damage. So if you have any team that has heavy healing, anything like that, this is the team that can take them down as long as you have them strong. She has an ability that it makes her immune to control abilities, as well as doing damage over time. This ability can repeat up to 8 times, so her ultimate ability actually just keeps hitting a target. Soul power, she is able to reduce damage by 40%. She goes into kind of like a meditative state. She starts flying around, or starts floating around. Void Barrage does a ton of damage as well, which, as you can see, base damage can be raised up to 190%. And the final one is Surge. She can actually increase her casting speed faster and faster. So not only does she do a ton of damage, but she can do it faster and faster, which is very tough. So recap, campaign, which I use Light Bearers. Let me know what you guys think of the teams. Formation, this is one that I use that is very reliant on the summons that they do. This one relies on Iran pulling everybody in, burst damage to the 3 targets that are pulled in. This is just the old formation, the all-stars that we've always seen throughout the game, not with any of the new heroes. And then final formation, all Graveworn team, which I like solid. This team I'd even swap out possibly Bade, and there's a couple substitutions you can make depending on the heroes that you have. But overall, 5 very solid teams. Very situational teams. I've used different ones throughout the chapters to really get all the way to 24-40, as you can see where I'm at there. So let me know in the comments what you think, what team comps you guys are using, and thank you guys for watching.